And welcome back to Strictly Marketing Talk Radio. I'm your host, Kerry Heaps, and we are talking today with Alicia Nicole WATERS about marketing mindset. And Alicia, just before the break, we talked a little bit about some of the mistakes and things that you see people make in their marketing efforts. I want to go back to the marketing mindset for a minute. Mm-hmm. What are a couple of mistakes that you see entrepreneurs making when it comes to their marketing efforts because of their mindset? It's off.
Oh, okay, totally, yes. Well, one of the things, there's several ways we can go with this, but I will start off by saying that normally I see sort of an unclear focus, and I too have had this in the past as it relates to marketing, and that certainly can affect your mindset. So when there's an unclear marketing focus and there's no real chief aim as it relates to defining clear and concise marketing goals, your marketing agenda will tend to be cluttered, and it lacks the simplicity that it needs in order for you to move forward. So this certainly can mess with your mindset because there's confusion. You don't sometimes know if you're coming or you're going because you're unclear about your message. And when you're unclear about your message, then certainly those whom you're trying to impact, they're not going to be clear about what it is that you offer and who it is that you represent. Another thing I see, Kerry, is when there's sort of this systematic approach where marketers are on autopilot and there's no real conscious effort, even as it relates to social media. There's a lot of posting randomly, just continuing to do things, and even when they don't see that they're getting the results, they don't actually step in to make the proper shifts in order to up-level that or tweak some things. They just continue. Another thing that I see, Kerry, is following cookie-cutter systems, and you and I have definitely had our share of conversations on this.
Yes.
And also a lack of consistency as it relates to marketing. Sometimes someone will start up a marketing campaign and they won't follow through. They won't execute effectively to bring it into completion. And then another area I'm going to say, and Kerry, you and I have definitely had our times of discussion on this and even a few segments, is when entrepreneurs and marketers are chasing what I call the guru Wizard of Oz and never truly tapping into their own unique factor as it relates to marketing. So that's a huge mistake when you're not able to know what your true authentic expression is as it relates to marketing. Another thing I mentioned earlier was about not knowing how to make the proper shifts in the business and the marketing dynamics so that entrepreneurs can achieve their present and next levels of success. So when this happens, they don't properly prepare what I call the marketing climate for every phase because they're often distracted with chasing all of the shiny objects, or what some call the shiny object syndrome. And when these efforts begin to yield less than what they expect, then they feel like a failure, which then leads to even more mindset work around marketing that sometimes really isn't unnecessary. It's really not necessary because it's been created simply because they haven't slowed down to figure out where do they make the shift, where do they need to tweak and not continue, to beat the drum of the same routine. There's several things I can go on about this. I also can talk about, there's just a lack of mastery as it relates to mastering maybe only one or two things that they do well. And then as one of your guests I heard a couple of weeks back talked about going deep with the process, finding one or two key areas and then going deep. If I had to use an example from my own personal experience, I love to use the speak to market path. And for me, that's primarily a focus on marketing through my radio program or using radio mastery and speaking in addition to using my publications as business marketing evangelism. So I do that and use those forms so that I can focus on just one or two key aspects that I can go deep with and be consistent with and become masters of those areas.
And I love that you shared those couple of things because all of those are really, really, really good. And I just want to touch on each one. Definitely unclear focus, not knowing what your message is. Or what I find a lot of people like to do is they're not giving, it feeds into the other thing that you put in there, not being consistent, that they're consistently, but they are consistently changing their message. You know, they feel like it's not working, or they're just not giving it enough time. And I've been guilty of that myself, not giving
absolutely.
a certain marketing campaign enough time to really come to fruition. When we talk about timelines too, what do you typically recommend for people before they start saying, hey, this probably is not working for me? Do you think 6 months? Do you think a year? Like, what's your feedback on time?
Well, honestly, I really believe in giving a shot at certain processes for at least 90 days. I think monitoring them even in 30-day increments, if you can do it for at least 90 days and start to sort of amp up and get a few results from that, then I think you can continue to sort of evolve it to stretch a little bit beyond. But if it's going beyond sort of the 6-month period, I would definitely say let's return to focus on the chief aim of what it is that you're really trying to accomplish. In my transformational marketing segment, I normally talk about creating a rapid rollout results and what that looks like, and being able to ask yourself in the present moment, you know, what are the rapid results? Because sometimes, Kerry, we know your business needs some rapid results. It can't wait 6 months, right?
Right, right.
Yeah, so you have to ask yourself, you know, what are the rapid rollout results that you need right now? How can you transform your marketing agenda in the present? How can you become a transformational marketing alchemist? As we know, alchemists, they transform lead into gold. So sometimes when processes aren't working and you really need something that's going to accelerate your success, then you have to say, well, I need a rapid rollout result right now in order to catapult myself, you know, to the next level. And when you do this, this is producing a sense of consciousness into the marketing, which is really important because, as I mentioned before, Kerry, there's a lot of autopilot marketing and just no real conscious effort. That's why people aren't awake to see this isn't working, and they know it's not working, but they'll continue to keep going down that path. So going back to the question as it relates to the timeline, maybe tweaking what you do and trying it for at least 90 days, be at least consistent with it for 90 days, and then revisit it. If it's working for you some and you can amp it up and take it to the next level, then I would say, Kerry, you could give it maybe the 6 months. Anything after that, I would say we need to do something different.
Well, good. I'm glad that you gave us your feedback on that, because I think that that's so important to kind of give people an idea of timelines of what people are talking about, because I hear so many people talk about timelines, but yet they don't give examples of what's a decent timeline. So I'm glad that you shared that. You know, another thing that you talked about with like autopilot and the cookie cutter programs, which we've had tons of discussions about. One thing that I find too, Alicia, and maybe you can give some feedback on this, is that especially with your marketing, that is not something that, you know, everybody says, oh, I just want, you know, you see all these programs out there that people will talk about, oh, you know, buy into my system and it generates all these leads, and you don't actually have to do anything. You don't have to participate in your own success. And I could not disagree with that statement any more than I could, you know, disagree with anything else. I mean, but it blows my mind how many people actually think that that's an okay thing. And the reality is, and, you know, last week's guest, Kelly Robbins, she was able to generate leads. You know, she shared a story about how she generated over 175 qualified leads, but yet she still had to participate in that. Those leads need to be called. They need to be nurtured. They need, you know, are they a good fit? Do they need to go somewhere else? What is your feedback on, you know, participating in the marketing?
Oh, well, you must. This is an absolute must. That's another area that's non-negotiable, and that's another mindset shift that has to be altered, if you will, if someone has that type of marketing mentality. If you believe that you can just set up your systems and they can just go for you and you don't have to actually participate in your success as a marketer, in the conscious entrepreneur arena or solo entrepreneur arena, you are not going to make it. You have to be participant in your success. And Kerry, as you and I were talking on one of our radio webinars recently, is as it relates to speaking and marketing, that it's not enough for people to hire even PR firms or even have promotional ambassador teams to promote for them. As a marketer, as an entrepreneur or a speaker or leader, you have to participate in your success. and you have to be sort of the living, walking brand, because that's who you are. Every time you speak, you're marketing. When you're out in the marketplace or wherever you are marketing every time you communicate. You have to be participating in your success. If you are waiting for someone else to do it for you, well, good luck. And when you don't get the results that you want, don't cry about it, because you have not put in the time and the effort. It goes back to what I was saying earlier, is that if you're going to be effective in this new era of change and entrepreneurship, you have got to prepare yourself like you are in the Olympics. Not like you're on the high school tryout team or T-ball. You have to prepare yourself like you are in the Olympics and go for the goal, which means no one can do for you what only you can do to get the results. If you hire a coach or a personal trainer, let's take for fitness or health, a personal trainer or a consultant can help you map out a plan, but yet they cannot make you eat correctly. They're not going to do the sit-ups and the crunches for you.
And they're not coming over to your house at 2 o'clock in the morning to pry out the ice cream out of your hands.
Exactly, right. And so this all relates to mindset, because, again, if you have the mindset or you have the attitude that or the wannabe diva complex in entrepreneurship, you're not going to last very long. And there are too many businesses that are opening and closing, and they're closing and shutting down when they actually don't have to. And I like, it was a memes, I believe, that you posted the other day. I'm going to paraphrase it. I don't remember exactly everything that it said. But basically, you were saying you're either going to work up or rust out, or something to that.
You either, I think it was, you either work your way out or rust yourself out. Yeah,
exactly. Work your way up or rust yourself out. Right. So in being lazy, so to speak, and I am going to use that term. So if you're going to be lazy in your entrepreneurship and as it relates to marketing, if you have that mindset, then I would say to you, go and find something different to do, because it's not going to work in this arena. And this is an arena that's going to challenge you. It's going to evolve you to be the absolute best of who you are, so that you can show up effectively to serve others. There are multitudes of people out here who really need what entrepreneurs have to offer. But if those same entrepreneurs who are being called to serve at the highest level are not willing to do what it takes to transform their mind and set the tone for their business, then, yeah, they need to go and do something different, because this is a totally different game of changing lives, and it needs to really be taken serious. And starting with the mindset and the attitudes that we have are going to help produce the results and the change and transformation, not only for ourselves, but for the world at large, too. Kerry, you get me on the soapbox here.
I know. You get going, and it's like you're sharing such great information. And that's, like I said, this was such an important topic to share and talk about. And you brought up about the positive little quotes.